There were seven. Seven sisters, each arriving one dawn after the other, as if the womb itself had learned secrets. In the same field, with the same breath passed down like a baton that could not afford to be dropped. The overseer wrote their births as coincidence, but the land did not. They worked the same roles, not because they were assigned, but because separation brought the timing. When one was moved, the cane leaned. When one fell sick, the birds went quiet. The fields noticed the disruption before the men did. They did not sing to survive. They chanted to align. It started low, so low it sounded like breath leaking from tired mouths. It wasn't a melody. There were no words anyone could accuse. It was a hum that sat between syllables, between steps, between the lift and fall of the cutlass. The chant was not carried by sound. It was carried by interval. One sister began. The next entered one breath later. The third followed on the pause. They learned early that power lives in spacing. The chant was built to move under command. When they were watched, it hid in rhythm. When they were beaten, it slid into silence without breaking. When night came, it reassembled itself inside their ribs, exact and waiting. They never spoke of escape. Escape was too small a word. What they were building required precision. The chant taught the body how to loosen without collapsing. It taught the feet how to walk without leaving urgency behind. It taught fear how to step aside without announcing its departure. The fields listened. Cain is good at holding sound, and better at holding memory. Each stalk bent a fraction too early. Each row learned a pattern and began to repeat it after they passed. The land took the chant and spread it wider than 7 mouths ever could. When they left, there was no running. They walked, not together. Together would have broken the spell. One sister rose, then the next, each a day apart in breath, even in departure. By the time the seventh stood, the first was already thinning into the dark, her rhythm still audible through the soil. The dogs did not follow. The whips did not land. The men slept badly and woke confused, unable to say what felt wrong. By morning, the fields were not open. The cane stood too tight. Rows refused alignment. Tools slipped. Sound behaved strangely. The chant had inverted itself. What once allowed survival now denied control. The sisters were never caught. Not because they hid well, because they untreaded. They stepped out of the count the island has been using. Even now, there are places where people feel their throats tighten for no reason. Where you're walking slows without instruction. Where 7 steps feel necessary, even when no one remembers why. That is not haunting. That is inheritance completing itself. The sisters did not leave the island. They taught it how to refuse.